I'm a Legionary of Christ priest. I'll be celebrating 10 years as a priest this December. So thank you. I'm very excited to be 10 years a priest. I didn't feel truly called to be a priest until 1 year into seminary. Yeah, for real. So I knew that God had a plan for my life. I think my life as an ECYD member and as a young Regnum Christi member and as a missionary going on door-to-door missions, etc., I knew absolutely in my heart that God had a plan for my life. He had a mission for me, but I had no clue what it was. But I knew that he had one, and I refused to just go live my life, go to college, go figure out what I'm going to do with my life until I knew I had a greater confidence of what God was calling me to do with my life. And so I felt that I had to go. I wanted to give God the first chance. I got to go to the seminary and see if that's what he wants, if he wants everything from me. And if he does, I'm willing to give it. But
were you that excited about going to the seminary?
No, I was scared of going to. I didn't want to go to the seminary. The only reason I went to the seminary was because so God could tell me that I didn't have a vocation. Mm. That's why I went to candidacy. And while I was there in the candidacy, I prayed a lot about it, and I actually had several spiritual directors, because the first one I said, "Hey, Father, do you think I have vocation to the priesthood?" And he's like, "You know what? I think you do. And I was like, "I think I need a new spiritual director," because so I fired the first one.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second one, I won't say any of their names, but the second one, he was much more spiritual. And so I said, "Do you think I have a vocation to the priesthood?" And he said, "I think you need to grow in faith, hope, and love." And so I was like, "What the heck does that have to do with my vocation?" So I need a new spiritual director. So I just fired him too. I didn't tell these guys they were fired. I just
went somewhere else where you could get the answers you wanted.
So the third one was a fun, jolly, down-to-earth priest that I liked a lot. And I went to him and said, "Father, I'd like spiritual direction with you. But first, I need to ask you a question. Do you think I have a vocation to be a priest?" And he looks at me, he's like, "How the hell do I know if you have a vocation to be a priest or not?" I was like, I can work with this. So I chose him.
There's hope.
He became my spiritual director, and he helped me a ton. And I went all the way to the end of that. There's 3 months there, and I was all the way to the end of that time, still having no clue if I was called or not, looking for signs everywhere, trying to find God's voice to tell me that I wasn't called, but he didn't. Long story short, it got to the end of it. I said, "You know what? I'm going to join. I'm going to do this, and I'm not leaving until you tell me that I'm not supposed to be there, God." And so I went forward, and I received the cassock. They let me. They all thought I had a vocation anyway, so they're like, just let them go, I guess. And when I entered, they asked me, "Would you be willing to go to another country for your novitiate?" And I said, "Well, as long as they speak English there, because I didn't want to go to Germany to be like, das ist vocation, vocation." And I was like, "What the heck are you talking about? I don't know." And so, Did
you already speak Spanish at that time?
I had been a missionary in Mexico for a year, so I spoke Spanish, but I wasn't confident enough in Spanish to say, send me to Mexico or Spain or whatever. So they sent me to Ireland, and that's where I began my novitiate. And it was a whole year of discernment at every single spiritual direction. And now Monsignor Pedro Pablo Elizondo talked to me every single week. And he every single week I would have a new reason why I probably didn't have a vocation. And he was super patient with me. One time I had a dream that I was a sheepdog, and I was chasing sheep, and there was a big shepherd, and I knew that the shepherd was like Jesus or whatever, but I was a sheepdog. So I went to Father Pedro Pablo. I was like, "You know what? I probably don't have a vocation." And he's like, "Why this time?" And I was like, "Well, I had a dream, and I was a sheepdog, and there was a shepherd, and obviously the shepherd is the priest, right? And I am just a leader amongst the, chasing people, being a Regnum Christian member, whatever. And I chase people to the shepherd, and then we're all good, right?" And he's like, I wouldn't make a life decision based on that dream. So he put it off for a little while longer. Fast forward a few months, and we had an 8-day spiritual exercises retreat. On the 5th day of that spiritual exercise, I was walking outside, had my Bible in my hand. It wasn't open, I was just walking outside, but all of a sudden I just stopped in my tracks, and I heard the words from the book of Jeremiah, "You duped me, Lord, and I let myself be duped." And it wasn't like oh, you got, but it was like the coin dropped in the machine. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm called. God is calling me to be a priest.
That was when you knew for sure?
Absolutely, absolute certainty, and knew for sure that I was called to be a legionary Christ priest. Absolutely.
And when was that?
So that was when my first year of novitiate, but I didn't really pay much, I didn't pay much attention to where I was, what was going on. I want to fast forward real quick, like 16 years later, I was a priest already. I was on a retreat and spiritual exercise again. The preacher said, go back to that moment when you first heard your call and remember it and think about it and pray about it, the circumstances. So I did, and I got like one of the exact day, the exact time and everything. I wanted to remember it and know it. I realized that it was about between 8:45 and 9 a.m. Eastern time in the United States on September 11th, 2001. I do not know why God called me at that moment, but while between the first and second tower falling in 9/11 was the moment when that coin dropped, and I knew with absolute certainty that I was called to be a legionary priest.
Yeah, so about December, he calls us because he called it Christmas, right? And he called us and he said, sell everything I have.
Which was like, I have a few good football cards.
I'm a legionary for life. And I said,
I think I had a Barry Sanders rookie card.
Yeah, well, that's what I said to your dad. Like, what do I do? Sell his dirty sacks, or what do I got left? I got nothing. So yeah, so it was just, but it was a beautiful moment for our family. I mean, I remember like everyone in the family were standing around the phone and everybody's tears coming down, and it wasn't because we were sad, it was because we heard the joy of his call in his voice.
And God gave me that moment. It was powerful enough that I've never doubted at all, in the very least, that call, that moment that he gave me. I know that was him that was calling me to be a legionary priest. But it started a lot farther back than that. I never as a kid, I never felt strongly called to be a priest. But when I was in 4th grade, my parish priest, when I was serving mass or whatever, he said, one day you're going to be a priest one day. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I didn't really even think about it, but I remember that. And I've since visited him. He's still alive, and go back to see him sometimes. But then when I was about 12 and we met Father Lorenzo Gomez at an event that we went to, and met the Legionaries of Christ and Regnum Christi. And within weeks of that encounter, I was on a trip to Cheshire with Father Gomez and other boys, and I discovered ECUID. I joined immediately because I just was like, this is awesome. Everything about it was awesome. And little by little, as I was doing more and more activities and missions and trips and things with ECUID, I was growing in I guess like an attachment to and a love for the charism that I was experiencing in ECUID. And I remember, I can't remember exactly if it was Father Lorenzo Gomez, Father Edward Hopkins, who would, one of these fathers, I remember they gave us a talk, and it was really inspiring. It was a homily, but he was like, ECUID, you guys, you little boys, you're going to change the world. And you're not going to wait until you're adults, until you're, married, or until you're priests, or whatever. You're going to change the world now. You're apostles. Yeah. And then that same weekend, we go out and we're literally door to door, knocking on doors with Youth for the Third Millennium, talking to people at their doors about the faith. And it's something like none of us would have ever done that by ourselves, but we had a team, we had a family, and we were fearless, and we were willing to knock on doors, and had some crazy experiences, stories for another time. But I think that the mission and the excitement of the potential of the mission of what we're called to is that was the seed for me of my Legionary of Christ vocation, was experiencing Christ by giving him to others. I had already encountered him, and that had formed my convictions of that he is number one, and I want to do what he wants me to do, and that influenced my decisions and everything I decided in the future. ECYD, that's what that is.
Yeah.
That's what it does.